All right, welcome back, everybody. My name is Kari, and I am back for another interview with another phenomenal guest in this live series that I've been doing here on Instagram, sharing people's stories of starting over when they realized something wasn't working for them. I see my guest has joined. I'm so excited to have her on today. I can't even. Um, Welcome, welcome. Thank you. Hopefully, we get some more people joining us live here today. But this has just been so much fun for me. There she is. All right. Welcome, welcome. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. I can hear you fine. I am so
Okay, good.
excited to have you here. I know we booked this like 2 months ago, and
I know I had a lot of stuff on my calendar in February, so that's why I picked a date so far out.
you know what, though? Time keeps going and we get here eventually. It's just like I can't even believe it's March already. Um,
Man, it's going by so fast.
So fast, so fast. So this has been a series of interviews I started at the end of last year in October to bring people on to share their stories of when they said, hey, something in my life isn't working for me. I got to make a change here. I put out the call, and you, along with so many other phenomenal people, reached out and said, I want to share my story. It's been so good. I am so happy to have met all of you. So I want to thank you, first of all, for being here, for raising your hand and saying, yes, pick me. And now I want to give you a proper introduction. So tell us who we're talking to here. Make sure that we know who the guest of honor is today.
So my name is Nia. I am the owner and creator of Perspectives, which is a personal finance education brand. And so technically the story that we'll talk about today is kind of one of the reasons that made me start my business. What I do is I take women from struggling and stress to empowered about money. Speak life into the finances of the movers and shakers of the world, because many didn't receive this education when they were younger, and we're doing better. We have better jobs, we're making larger salaries, but we just don't have that structure of, okay, what now? What do we do? How do I make my dreams a reality by leveraging my finances and managing them correctly so that I can buy a house, I can travel during the year when I want to, I'm not drowning in debt and, things like that. So I have a monthly membership. I facilitate workshops. I'm a speaker as well as I'm a real estate investor. So I also help them prepare their finances for home ownership.
Oh, wow. So good. I'm ready to say, you know what? Actually, how about you just give me a coaching session? I'm just going to take advantage of that. Oh, it's so good, though. You are absolutely right, though. We are just not properly educated when it comes to personal finances. I know I learned how to write a check in third grade.
That's good, though. That's really good.
But, that was in third grade. I didn't have to do one for 10 years after that. And by that point,
True.
And of course, I learned how to write a check, right? I learned how to spend money, but I didn't necessarily learn how to not just manage that money, but like you said, make that money work for you so that you can live the life you want to live. Oh, so good. Oh my gosh, I am excited to hear this. Okay. So good. All right. So, man, I'm already fired up here. So, tell us then, I guess, when did you kind of start your journey? Where does your story begin with you deciding to go down this path?
So it originally honestly started when I was I'm going to say probably like 23, 24. So it was a while ago. I was a mail carrier at the Postal Service. And I felt like I made a pretty decent income. And everybody was saying like, that's I have a daughter. My daughter now is 20 years old. But that's what everybody said. If you want to, you need to buy a house. That's what you do. You buy a house. So I'm like, okay, I make good money. I go buy a house, right? Right. Because I work at good money. So yeah. So I went to the mortgage, loan officer, and I'm like, okay, I want to buy a house. And he like, no, you don't. I'm like, no, for real. He's like, no, you don't. Like you have this, you don't have any credit, you don't have any savings, you don't have you have to do this, and this before I will think about giving you a house. So it's like me making money was not just the only part of the puzzle. I had to have my credit together. I had to have money in reserves in case anything happens. I didn't have an emergency fund. Like, I'll be honest, this was my formal life. I didn't have an emergency fund or anything like that. So that was my first like eye opening, like, oh, you have to do all of that to buy a house? I thought you just, I had no idea about the process at all. So, I self-corrected my own finances, fixed my credit, saved money, came back like, okay, now what? So I was able to purchase my first house at the age of 27. And once I did that, all of my friends would start to come to me like, well, how did you do it? Well, I got this on my, I got this on my credit. What do I have to do? So it helped me understand that I wasn't alone. It wasn't just me that didn't have this information, that it was multiple people that didn't have this information. So that's the moment that I decided to say, I'm going to open a business to help others, but I still needed to help myself. So I had to finish my education and all of those things. So I didn't finish my master's until 2017. And thus my business, it started, I actually launched it 2017. But that's the original story that made me realize how much information we just did not have about the process and about any of these things.
You are so right, though. And for everybody listening, right, the time that you don't want to figure that out is when you go to buy a house and you get the mortgage and they're like, oh, nope, sorry, like that's the wrong time to figure that out. Okay, so I want to touch though first on, before you really went on this journey, when you were in that state financially, can you tell us just a little bit about how you felt at that point in time? What impact was your financial status having on you when you didn't have all of this figured out?
So it had a lot of effects. I was living paycheck to paycheck. I would be doing well, of course, on payday, but by the time it was time for me to get paid again, I didn't have any money. I was spending a lot of money on restaurant food. I also would spend money because I felt bad because I worked a lot of hours. So that was part of it too. Like I felt like I worked so many hours, so I would spend money, kind of like parents' guilt to make up for it, or I would, treat out to the restaurant more often and things like that, which is not what my wallet should have been doing. So, all of this was which led to like the life-changing decision I made to leave the post office, which is like the whole story that I, plan to tell, because it's like I was just in a constant cycle. I was in the rat race. That's basically what like they call it, the rat. That's what I was in. I was in the rat race. I was in a constant cycle of I would just go to work, barely scratch to pay my bills, get paid. Of course, I was rich by payday, broke by Monday. That's literally what I was going through, that cycle over and over and over again. And that's not, that to me, that wasn't a way for me to live. That's not a way I wanted to live. I wanted to do things. Like I said, I wanted to purchase a house. I heard other people talking about their house, or that's what you're supposed to do. I'm like, well, how am I supposed to do that? So things like that is what made me be like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm hearing you say, though, the word rat race, like when I hear that, it's really negative sort of thing. So is it fair to say that you were kind of in this like just like space where like it wasn't necessarily a positive way that you were going, or
no, because I was working so hard. I was working extremely hard, but not doing anything with my money that was substantial, not doing anything with my money that really benefited me. Like I don't have anything to show for all those 65 hours of work, that I was working before I made it to that point. I don't have anything to show for it. Like literally running my body into ground. I hurt my ankle while working there, had to have surgery, all of that. And during that time, before I realized like, oh, I have to do all of this and I need credit, I have nothing to show for that.
Oh man, you hit the nail on the head with that, right? We run ourselves ragged. We are draining ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally. Like we're just wearing ourselves out and we have nothing to show for it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right. So you decided to take control of this, reclaim it, and go on this journey. So tell us a little bit about what that transition was like for you.
So the transition was me making a realization that one, I needed to get into a position where I made money, but not having to work 65 hours a week. My daughter was getting older, approaching teenage years, approaching where I want to be able to put her in programs. I want to be able to allow her to do extracurricular activities. And I did not have the ability to do any of that because I was at work all the time. I was missing living life. I couldn't travel on trips, hang with friends and family. You know, I would miss all of the events and birthdays, or I would drag in there late, exhausted after work. And that just wasn't a life that I saw for myself. And I had just, I was in my 20s, so I know I had 30 more years of that. And I'm just like, this something has got to give. I cannot do this for 30 more years. This is not going to work. So I made the decision at that point that I needed to leave. I needed to leave the Postal Service. Mm-hmm. But the problem that came with that is a lot of other jobs don't see delivering mail like as a lot of, as far as transferring within the federal government, they don't see delivering mail as specialized experience. So it causes you to not qualify for a lot of different jobs. So I went back to school and I got my, when I first started working there, I got my associates. But I got my associates, but because I worked so many hours, I couldn't attend the last classes for that last semester. So I did not get my associate. Like I walked across the stage and did all of that, and then my grades come back and it was like, yeah.
You no.
Yeah. So I had to go to now I also have moved to the suburbs because remember I bought a house now. So now I got a house. I live in a completely different city. I cannot go back to the city college so that I can finish my degree there, you know, because that would be too easy, right? So no, I have to go to school in the suburbs now. So, you know, I went to school out there and I had to take so many classes for them to allow me to graduate from their college. So I had to take classes I had taken already just so that I could get a degree there. And then I went on to pursue my bachelor's degree. All this time I'm applying. Nothing. You hear me? Nothing. I tried to get like, they have details in the federal government where you can go and work in another position. Normally it's about 90 to 120 days. And then you go back to your regular position. I was able to secure one of those as a part of my externship for my last semester in my bachelor's degree. So I got that, got in good, found ways that I could go to the sales department, which would go along with my business degree, and my manager blocked it. She would not let me go. She said, oh no, I need her here to run the address management system. And I had never run it before, so I don't know what she was talking about because I'm like, how do you need me to run it? I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, but it was just it was just like so many things just happening. You know, like, it's like every time I was trying to get somewhere, it was like, no, that's not it. So eventually I was able to leave the Postal Service, and I took a $20,000 pay cut. Now, this $20,000 pay cut is just on paper. This is not including all those hours of overtime that I regularly was used to working at the Postal Service. So when I say this was the best test of my finances, this is the best test of all, because I still have a house. Remember, I still have a child. So but I wanted to have those weekends off so I could put her into programs. I could get off in time to pick her up and, you know, let her go to volleyball practice after school. So I kind of had to make a sacrifice and take this drastic change in my life so that I could do better and I could exactly. So that's that was, to me, was drastic. So I went on the biggest budget of them all. Like, I'm so serious. I cut cable. I cut everything down to bare minimum. But when I say that I learned how to manage my finances, that's when I first began traveling. Not when I was working 65, 70 hours a week, making all that money. It was when I took a $20,000 pay cut and I was sitting there, you know, managing my money and learning what my money could really do for me. And that's when I truly learned it's not how much you make. It's what you do with the money you make. It's having the knowledge what to do with the money you make and how to keep some of it. And be okay with keeping some of it and not having to spend all of it. So I did that. I went to a secretary position because that's when my bachelor's classified me No,
Mhm.
qualified me. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
qualified me for. So I became a secretary, and I'm still at the current agency now. But when I say I've moved up 3 positions since then, and I now make more than I even made
Yeah.
even with the 60 hours. But it took me to do that. But it not only that, even though I make more than I made there, it's what I do with my money.
Yeah.
Well, pre-pandemic, so 2019, because 2020 don't count. I took about 35 flights. Like, that's how much I traveled in 2019. I took about 35 flights. I bought a property during the pandemic. I'm about to purchase another investment property this year. I've paid off about $7,000 worth of debt so far this year. Like,
Good for
it's
you.
not about how much. It's you. Once you learn how to manage your money correctly, and then you make more money, you're
Game over,
unstoppable.
right? It's game. Yeah.
Exactly. You're unstoppable.
Oh, amazing. Oh my gosh. So much good stuff here. I want to pause for a moment though for people and back up because earlier when you said you started going to school, you started doing all these things, I just want to remind people that it's not always going to be a nice, straight, easy path. You know, you were making these changes and you were like, I'm taking back, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to get a new job. And then you were like, brick wall after brick wall. But we got
But I was determined. I had people asking me all the time, like, "You're going to school when you get off here?" Yes. Why? They're like, why? Because I gotta get out of here.
I want to ask you though, when you were going through that and every time you were kind of coming up against it, and you were applying for jobs and not getting those, what kept you moving forward?
I'm gonna say I applied for jobs probably about 4 years straight. So just to give you a timeline of how many years I applied. I really, because it's a special way that you apply for federal jobs, which I was unaware of course, something else I had to learn. But I would, for one thing that kept me going is the life that I wanted, like me holding on to my desires of where I wanted to be and me knowing what this step that I was taking, where it was going to get me to. For 2, it was the disdain. Like I would literally drive to work and sit in the parking lot and want to call off.
You have not been there, really.
And be sitting in the park, like I've already gotten dressed, have my uniform on, and I'm at work. And I'm literally having to talk myself to go in, and that's when you know that this is not where you really want to be.
Yeah.
And this is not something that you want to do. So that's one thing that kept me going. 2, of course, being able to provide a better life for my child, her having the ability to be in extracurricular activities. She was approaching high school. I didn't want her to not have that parent and not, be able to have a parent at home that she physically saw, because I am the product of a single family home and my mother had to work a lot in order to provide for us. So I wouldn't see my mom much. So I didn't want her to have that same experience. So that's one of the things that kind of kept me going. So if whenever I got denied for a position or they said I was ineligible, most federal vacancy announcements include the hiring person or at least a contact in human resources at the bottom of the vacancy announcement. So I would email them and ask them what on my thing was wrong, what didn't I do? And that's how I learned the process of how to correctly apply for federal jobs. Because some things like, if you don't, they ask for a performance appraisal, but we didn't get performance appraisals. She's like, well, we don't know that. So you have to write a letter and let us know why you're not able to provide this document because you don't receive them at your current place of employment. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I did that over and over again until finally I learned how it worked.
Okay. You're just saying so many good things. I'm like, I want to say something about that. I want to say something about that. So I know earlier you said it, and you repeated it now again for people who might be on the fence. You and I had the exact same thought where we had that moment where we said, this cannot be it. This cannot be the way that things are going to go for me for the next 30 years. Are you kidding me? You said that. I was like, that's exactly the same thought I went through. So anybody who's having those thoughts in your head that like this can't possibly go on like this, here's your sign. Okay. The other thing that I'm gonna say, here's what I was taking out of your recent message or this other message is that what kept you moving forward is that you knew that it could be better. You were no longer settling. You weren't stuck now and saying, this is just how life is, that I just have to
No,
accept the situation. What I heard you say is, and without even saying it, but what I heard you say is, I know that I can have better and I deserve better and my daughter deserves better. And I'm going to make
mhm,
that happen because I don't have to settle for this.
exactly,
So good. Whew. Whew.
exactly.
Okay, so and the financial conversation, I love this too. I'm also big on finances because when you get control of your finances, you get control of your life and you get to live life on your terms. You get to live life the way that you want to live. So we are at the point in your journey now where you are in a new role. You've got your finances under control. So how do you feel now compared to where you were when you started this journey, though? Like, what would you say
So
now?
I have to be completely honest at that in the beginning, you don't really see your progress. In the beginning, you're usually still frustrated with yourself because you have places where you want to be and things that you're aiming to accomplish, but maybe you're not there yet. So sometimes you tend to focus on where you want to be and you don't look back to see where you come from. So this is something I tell my students all the time. This is the one time I'm going to tell you to look behind you, because don't focus. Sometimes you can't solely focus on where you're trying to get to. You got to look back to see, oh, wow, I was over there. Oh, man, I walked all this far. So that's something that I had to learn myself, because I would become frustrated with myself because now I got the momentum. I'm moving. I'm doing more things. And I will put pressure on myself to do more, to do more, to do more, to get more done. So it's like, and then now that I'm, learning how doing better with my money and I'm managing my money better. Okay, what now? So it's like that pressure also that comes. So I'm feeling better about myself once I finally stop to really realize and like actually sit down and take that moment. Like, man, you're not there. And you know where it really hit me? In the wintertime. In the wintertime, at the time when it's always really cold, because I live in Chicago. So our winters are brutal. And I used to be a mail carrier outside in those winters. So when you're not out there and it's horrible weather and it's inclement weather and they're like, oh, stay in the house. And it's like, oh, wait, that's me. I can stay in the house. Like they're talking to me. Because before they would tell everybody else to stay in the house, but we would have to be outside all day, 8 to 10 hours or
Yeah.
longer. So that's when it really started to hit me like, wait, I did it. Like, because a lot of people, they started working there and they just worked there for 30 years and they don't really change. So when I was looking to change, they looked at me weird, like, why? Why would you want to do that? So you had all of that. So to me, it was kind of like, look, I did it. So I think that starting to have that moment to stop and really realize, like, yes, you did it. You got out. You left.
So
And
good.
then when I really started to apply for other positions to start to get my pay back up, it's like, oh man, like I'm really doing this. And I think you just have to take that moment to really realize, like, this is happening, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've got a comment here. Somebody, I'm always trying to do more. I think a lot of us, we are always trying.
That's why I said I had to be honest and say at first I didn't feel it. It took a while for it to set in.
Yeah, and I love that too, that people are always saying, oh, eyes forward, don't look back. But honestly, when you are on a journey of change, transformation, when you're making moves, you have got to know where you started from.
You have to.
You have to, because in those moments of doubt, you need that record to say, look how far I've come. And it's just so empowering when you look back and you say, I'm not there anymore. Oh, so good. Such a good message. I love that. And I'm just gonna, if you don't mind here, I also had a job where when the weather was bad, I had to go to work because I used to work for the electric utility company. So when the power went out, we all went to work. And now it's like, I don't have to do that anymore.
Exactly. When you make that realization, I think that's one of the things that really helped me realize, like, you did it, because you don't have to be out there. And I found myself being so thankful whenever I would hear, oh, we're getting 12 inches tomorrow. I was like, whew.
Not me.
Right, exactly. I'm going to be in the house.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That's amazing, amazing advice for anybody who's listening, though, is like sometimes you do have to look back to remind yourself how far you've come. And to say to yourself, I did that, because you keep saying that. I did that.
Yeah, you have to. You have to hype yourself up sometimes, because sometimes you get so far and deep into the momentum of working on your goals, you forget to celebrate yourself, you forget to hype yourself up. And sometimes too much of that can cause you to get discouraged. It'll cause you to start losing steam on your journey, and then you find yourself just not motivated.
Absolutely. 100%. You just hit the nail on the head there. So with where you're at now and what you're doing now, how do you feel now about where you're at and the way that your life is playing out?
I'm not gonna lie, I feel fabulous. I'm so serious. I just have the space and the ability and the freedom to do more things. So, for example, I went to an honors program in high school where I had to take 4 years of Spanish. So I wanted to become bilingual in Spanish. So over the years, I've dabbled, learned it for a little while and then stopped. But I can honestly say right now, since March of 2020, I've taken 5 to 6 hours of Spanish every week. I'm on track to be bilingual by the end of 2022. I went to Colombia for 2 weeks last year just to practice Spanish. So the fact that I'm able to do things like that and still move forward with my financial goals.
Incredible.
It is the freedom for me. It's the freedom for me and the ability to do more of the things that I want to do, because I don't have a necessity to learn speaking Spanish. It's just something that I've always wanted to do. And
getting to do the things that you want to do.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Yep. Shifting from doing things that you have to or because you're surviving to just saying, nope, I'm doing this because I want to and I'm going to enjoy this. And
exactly.
It's amazing.
And it feels good to finally be scratching that goal that's been like on my goal for at this point over 20 years.
So good. So congratulations to you, though. That's amazing. I'm super proud of you, and I'm also super inspired by you because it is, though, it's awesome to see the transformation that can happen when we take control of our lives and we actually approach life with intention and purpose, and we are doing things like you said, we were spending money before, but when we learn how to manage our money,
it's a whole new world.
Yeah. Oh, so good. So I want to ask you here then, if there's one message that you could tell to people listening, what do you want to say to them right now?
I first want to tell people not to be embarrassed about their finances. First of all, everybody makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect. It's very easy to make mistakes. It's not easy to stay on track. If it was so easy, everybody would be a millionaire, but we all are not. So obviously it's something that's not as easy to do. The important thing to do is keep your eye on what your desires are, create a plan, and then work backwards to execute it.
Perfect. Love it. Love it. So tell us then, I want to, wrapping up here, because I think we've reached a really, really good point here. How can we support you? Let us know, how do we get in touch with you if people want to work with you, if they want to learn more? What can we do to support you?
Oh, plenty of ways. No. No, I'm actually giving a 5-day money challenge this month from March 14th to March 18th. But I do want to give a pre-warning. If you show up and you sign up for my money challenge, be prepared to do a transformation with your money and your mindset around your money. I'm touching on things that we do that cause us to mess up our money. Fear of missing out, jealousy, comparison. You might not like me at the end of the challenge, but your mindset about your money is going to be changed. And that's all I really care about. So to support me, feel free to join that challenge. You can follow me here on Instagram at Money Perspectives. Facebook, same thing, www.facebook.com/Money Perspectives, because that is my goal, to change your perspectives about money. You can, my website, www.perspectiveschange.com. So, and you can find everything there. My monthly membership, because I do provide a monthly membership that gives access to wealth professionals for a fraction of the cost at your fingertips. So you're more than welcome to join that as well. But anything you want to find about me will be on my website.
Okay, excellent, everybody. So go follow Nia on her socials. Go check out her website. Sign up for that. That sounds like an incredible program. You know I did the same thing for myself. What you're talking about there is really challenging yourself to get control of your finances. But we've got two stories right here. We're both telling you, go get your finances in order.
Together, yes.
So go support Nia. Go again, sign up for that program. It sounds incredible. And then one final question here. I mean, I've had a phenomenal time with you today. I would like everybody else to get to watch this who didn't get to tune in live. So is it okay with you if I post this on my Instagram?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Excellent. So thank you for that. And again, thank you so much for joining here, because this was a phenomenal conversation.
Thank you.
Good. Talking about money, your story is incredible. I really just truly love listening to everyone's journeys. It's just,
I do too. I'm an ultimate cheerleader. I do. I cheerlead for my people all the time, because it's just nice to see, and the fulfillment that you see people get when they accomplish their goals.
Nailed it, right? I got nothing else to say on top of that. So that was perfect. Thank you so much again, Nia, for joining. Really, really pleasure to meet you. And this conversation was so good. I'm feeling pretty hyped right now. So thank you so much again for joining.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right. All right, then. We'll see everybody next week. Bye.
Bye.